Hello and good morning, afternoon and evening, wherever you are. Just hello. Welcome to the second session of Inspiring Conversation. And let's remind people why we are doing this. I am doing this because conversations are sometimes the most important thing that you have to get inspired, and we connect deeply, we look through, break down barriers, we build moments, and we grow. And the guest today is a powerful lady from the UK, and yesterday we were talking together and preparing. We were like, I come from Iceland. I believe in trolls and elves. She sprinkles fairy dust. And I don't know if she, like, what kind of power she had, but this happened in Iceland last night. So believe you me, did the lady have so much power that, or did the earth in Iceland like it so much that we were going to talk or speak together that it decided to erupt? The volcano erupted one more time. So, introducing my guest of honor. So, Miss McLelland. No, Miss. Or is it Mrs.?
Mrs.
Yeah, well, Mrs. Do you have...
I should say the Toni McLelland.
Well, yes, the Toni McLelland. Do you have the power to control the earth in Iceland? Your Tony's fairy dust. How did you?
Well, the thing about it is, people like you and I, we always believe that we can, with the right mindset, we are capable of many things,
Yes.
So that's what we
But this, I really thought, like at midnight yesterday, I was just like, no, this is not possible. Like, I'm going to talk to her. We are going to talk about the fairy dust and stuff. And then it's just, the volcano erupted again for the 10th time. Like,
so that wasn't that time, it was you.
Well, maybe, I don't know, like, maybe it's only 40 minutes away from me. So maybe I challenged the thought over there. Well, welcome to these inspiring conversations, Toni.
Thank you.
And as I have been saying to you several times, I'm so looking forward to talking to you because you are a powerhouse.
Well, I don't know about that, but what I do know is that every time you and I connect, we can, the conversation just goes and goes, and whether it's 10 minutes or we have to strictly say, come on, we got to go now, this is it. So, I think it's always evolving, but that's the thing about it is, Hedin, that things are always evolving, aren't they?
Yeah, and it is when two people meet and you show general like interest in what they're saying, then it's just like it's a spin-off. It goes left and right and middle and center and down and up, and you are just like, and then all of a sudden you just, what? Have we been talking for 3 hours? Like, that is who?
We haven't done 3 hours yet, but It could
No.
easily be. It could easily be.
Yes. So let's start. I will just tell our friends who are watching that you can put in on LinkedIn, for example, you can, if you have a comment, you have a question, then you just write it and I will pop it up on the screen. So just have that in place. But now is the biggest question of them all. Who am I talking to? Give us a little bit about Toni McLelland. Like, give us a little bit background, and then I can dive into and say, ho, 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 what's that?
Okay, so is it who am I or what am I?
Well, start with who are you, and then go over to what you are.
Okay, so I'm Toni McLelland. I'm a mother of 5 boys. Can you imagine? 5. They are aged from 24 to 30. Well, actually, they're not boys, they're men because their voices are deep and broken. And so there's lots of testosterone going around. You know, we have a grand dog, and we also have grandchildren as well. We've got 6 grandchildren. And yeah, so that's me.
Wait a
I'm in
second.
London.
You don't look at, like, we are same age. We are 29, aren't we? How is this possible? But you must have 6 boys, isn't it? I'm
5.
counting your husband. Yeah, but what about your husband? You have to, like.
Oh, he's very alpha male. So yes, I can count him in on occasion.
Okay.
On occasion.
So when they get together, those 6, that must be.
Lots of testosterone, lots of.
Oh yeah.
But I can manage. I'm a big girl. I can manage. So you know.
Oh,
But,
you definitely do.
but the other thing about it is that they actually appreciate the that input, that female input as well. And I think that that's really crucial. That's really important that they see that and appreciate that. And you know, sometimes I bring a little bit of a softer side to things.
But I believe that behind every man there is a strong woman. So, like, this is just. I have a strong woman. I have a strong wife. So it's just. And
I'm
then.
trying to tell him that he's the lucky one. He seems to think that I'm the lucky one. So I guess we're both lucky.
Of course. So that was a little bit about you. You live in London, and then now we can get over to what are you?
Okay, well, I'm a critical friend, and not a lot of people know what that term stands for. So it's a critical friend is somebody in business that has your back all the time, will tell you as it is, but stroke you at the same time. So, make sure that you're okay and will have your back and get you through it. So they'll give us some crucial advice, some factual advice, some things that you need to hear, not necessarily want to hear, but need to hear. But actually, I do it with a smile, with compassion, and will guide you through to the next piece that we're navigating. So that's me as a critical friend, but I'm also a business mentor, but I really specialize in social causes. So that's what makes my heart feel warm. Social causes. So businesses that are doing really good causes. So it could be third sector charity. It could be, well, the leading agenda at the moment is around people and sustainability. So anybody that's in that kind of space, those are the organizations that I work with that are going through crisis, or as a startup. So I work with lots of C-suite and board leaders in this area of business as a consultant. So that's kind of me, consultant, mentor, and yeah.
But Toni, as I know, you have an interesting background. Like, you worked at were a magistrate. How do you say it?
Yeah, I was a magistrate for a short period, yeah.
And then you have a master's degree in something with working with kids or criminality or something.
Yeah, applied criminology.
Yes.
Applied criminology, and I'm a fellow as well.
Yes, that was something that I didn't understand when I was at a lunch meeting with you with other people, and I was just like, "What? Say what?" what's a fellow? I thought suddenly I was just like, no, she's a woman. What's happening here? I'm like,
Fellow, FELLOW, so fellow. So that's with the Royal Society of Arts, RSA. So there's lots of
ah,
research there, innovation, future innovation, looking forward, working with innovators, and yes, it's real exciting. So that's good.
yeah. So you are like, you have something, you have an interesting backstory. So, and we are going to talk now. The theme is happiness in the workplace. But you have something. You say, as you were saying, you are like strict maybe, but you are loving. And as I say here in the, how can a unique blend of candid advice and uplifting motivation empower you to embrace challenges and drive meaningful change in your professional journey? So sometimes we lose sight of that. And as we begin to work in a place, like in a workplace, we are happy, we are excited, we are driven, and then it starts to like it diminishes. That was not English, was it? I like
Ish. Yeah,
so
diminishing.
so, yes. So like how is it that we, because happiness in a workplace, because you go in and you have this fire in your belly and you like you are really up for it, and then something happens. You like
Well, there's
same no.
a number of things, isn't there? Because it's really interesting that you say that, because a number of the organisations that I work with homelessness charities, those types of, the police, NHS, prison service, vulnerable groups, elderly, disabilities, neurodiversity, that kind of group. So what you'll find is that these organisations are typically regulated, and they have regular inspections and they have to be very compliant. And so quite often when I go into these organizations and support them with that, you're trying to lift the staff from a place of unhappiness to really reigniting them back to when they first started in their role. So you've really got to transport them back to, why did you come into this role? Let's leave the current situation as it is. Let's go back. Why did you come into this role? How did you feel? Were you excited? What made you excited about this? And then really, so I kind of look at how I can help them to bring that back, and that's kind of like the main thing, isn't it? Because happiness is key. And I think that the way that I look at it is that, there's something I'm going to say here. When it comes to happiness, there's a key. And one of the keys is a quote that I've got. And quite often we look at, as a professional, we look at what's important for a person when we need to look at what's important to them as well. So as a professional, let me put that into context. As a professional, you might, if I'm leading an organization, I might say, head in, lunch is between 12 and 2. You're going to get paid this amount of money on this particular day. These are the benefits that you can get. There's things in the staff room at lunchtime you can have, etc. Those are the things that may be important for you. Yeah?
Yeah.
And we spend so much time focusing on that. But really, what's important to you could be quite different. You might not be bothered about some of the benefits. You might not be bothered about having lunch between 12 and 2. You might be more concerned about the fact that, I don't know, it's your wife's birthday. You've got an ache. You're feeling under the weather. Do you understand what I mean? So
Yeah.
miss that piece and we think, oh, we're doing everything that we can. We've made sure that Head-In has his pay on time and all these things. But actually, those things may not necessarily be important to you. So that's a question we need to start off by asking. What is important to you?
So what I'm hearing you saying is that you need to get acknowledged, maybe. you need to be listened to, because work sometimes when you're working, it feels like the company or whatever, how should I say it, owns you and doesn't care what you do outside of work. Like, but we need that aspect in the work.
And I think that you've taken it to the next level, because at the moment, this is just about asking, because quite often those people don't really think about what's important to me until they're asked that question. But you as a leader need to know to ask that question to get that answer, and they might go away and have a little think about it. You see what I mean? So really, as that leader, you've got to be more open-minded and, you know, listen, really observe. So a lot of my background story is really in understanding people. So I've done my bit in criminal justice. I went into education. In criminal justice, it was about understanding behavior. And what does that look like and change look like for individuals? You know, I went into education. I wanted to understand how people get into learning, how they connect with learning. I've done some work in social care as a chief exec in a social care organization. And that was really about how environmental factors have an impact on how people feel happy, and how they thrive, So, and then you've got things like your network that's around you and your own self-awareness of what you need and what you are. So I've got my blend model, the B, behavior, L for learning, E for environment, N for network, and D for your own development, your own self-awareness. And I use that, you know, as a gauge for me. So it's almost like I've done research to try to understand people a little bit more. But coming back to what you've just said, it's really about that leader having the breadth of experience to understand and connect with those people within the organization, and to know that that is a question that needs asking. So even when it comes to supervision, for example, or one-to-ones, it's usually head in, you've got a team of 10 people that you're leading. Tell me about what's going on for you, and then we set the goals around that. That's not enough. You need at least the 3 sections: corporate goals. So what are the business goals as a leader? What are your professional goals heading? Your professional aspirations? And what are your personal goals? That for me is an absolute starting point.
But how, as a leader, you have 1,000 things on your plate, and then adding a listening aspect or asking aspect to the employer. Like, okay, it goes both ways, because the leaders, they have to be interested in their own subculture, or how we call it. So, and it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to, but of course it is. I'm thinking now about me as an employee. I have to understand the corporate course. I have to understand what is they recognize of me, and you know, the ambition of everybody who, and how we align that. Like, how can you see how what do you do to like keep people motivated?
Well, the thing about it is you have to be interested, first of all. You have to be interested, and you have to understand that the people are your work. So, you know, those people that go into an organization or are leading those organizations, they may think, well, actually, I've got this stack of paper to get through. I've got all this work to do. They don't want that, their doors closed. No one can knock. They're not answering their phone because they just need to get their head down. And there are going to be times when you need to do that as a leader. However, you know, my leadership style is more about connecting with others, because 80% of your work is your people, and the other 20% is my work that only I can do, the more strategic things that only I can do. But if I make sure that I'm always there for my people, when it comes to appraisals, how many times have you had an appraisal that's been cancelled, or a supervision that's been cancelled, and 6 months down the line, it's like, oh, you don't care enough. I make sure that those things in the diary are there. They don't move. If you need resources, I'll do my best for you. I will make sure that you're happy. If we're working on a project, you know, I will help and support you as well. You know, so these are the kind of things. If I'm working late, someone might even stay as well, but they might be somebody in the office that is working late on a project. I am the last one to leave that office. I'm not leaving anybody in there. So it's like, come on, you're coming with me. We're leaving together, or I'm going to stay and help you to do it. Yeah. So, you know, you have to be interested in your people and realize that you can't ignore them. That is your work. And it's about valuing them, making them feel valued.
So we have a question from Rab Bessie. He asked, like, does leaders learning look different for different people? Like how, because we are all over. And then we have ADHD, like we have everything. we are not, everybody does not look the same. We don't think the same. There is a difference between me and you. It's a difference between Icelandic people and British people. And like, as Rab asks, like, how is it when you go into the situation? How good of a people's recognizer are you? Like, can you spot, oh, this person is angry?
I can. And the thing about it is, and that is just based on my background. So first of all, I want to say hi, Rab, and thanks for joining us. You know, and it's a really interesting question. So I can, based on my background as a specialist education principal and criminal justice, understanding behaviors and learning, that kind of thing. So you're really looking at when somebody's engaged. And for me, even though I can understand a bit more or realize that actually we need to explore that a little bit more, it might be somebody else exploring the depth of it, I can recognize the signs initially that we need more. Yeah. But sometimes for those people that haven't got that experience, it's good to just ask the question and be absolutely curious. How do you engage in learning? What's the best way? Some are kinesthetic learners. Some are audio and some are visual. You know, how do you know? And one of the ways that I say is, if you're not sure, obviously there's lots of assessments that are out there. There's lots of tools that you can use to take these assessments. But one of the things is just think about how maybe you remember your cash point PIN number, for example. Do you remember it by the sound that it makes? Do you remember the pattern? Do you forget until you get to the cash point and then you remember the pattern? Or, you know, do you see what I mean? Because then that's an indication whether you're visual or audio or kinesthetic. Do you see what I mean? It's just an indication. Yeah. If you want to know further, you can go and explore that. But ultimately, as that leader, you need to be able to make sure that anything that you're doing is accessible to all and caters for all, and really have an open mind. And something that you mentioned before, Hedin, was the fact that, you know, leaders don't know everything. How can we go and we don't know? But actually, the way that I see it is, and this is another quote, you're going to get lots of quotes today. How often do we say, reach out? But when we lead with care and compassion, we take responsibility to reach into. So, for example, Hedin, what I'm saying here now is it's not for people to go to the leaders and disclose, because they don't know how that information is going to be utilized, if at all. So it's our responsibility as leaders to go to people, watch, observe, listen, build relationships, understand, and remain curious.
Well, according to the PIN number discussion where you just said,
I don't want your PIN number. I don't want your PIN number.
Rab Bessie, he is a very simple one, so that's 4 zeros. So that I think we have some. He's a great humorist. So like, and then came this one.
Is that the bank balance, Rab?
But before you mentioned and this is a great David Bellamy. Hi, the people are your work. Okay, and it is dynamite, and like well said, Tony. So, but when is it that you? Is it because you are always thinking about things that you say, and when you are asking people, and well, how are you today? It's sometimes I think about when I am in the UK and you go into a store. Hello, how are you? And there is nothing you can sense. There is nothing behind that question. It's just because in the employee manual, when a person enters the shop, ask them how they are. You know, and you can feel it with leaders. If they, hi, how are you? Good day. Like, how do you gear up to be interested? Because it is not for everybody. Because you
Okay,
can be introverted and extroverted, and
I'll tell you, this is a secret, and if you can get it, even if you can, put effort into being interested, it's magical. So hi David, and it's been a little while, so thank you for chiming in as well. But when I managed large staff teams, I managed up to 700 people at one point. Led an organization of 700 people, I should say. And one of the things that I always used to do is that everybody, my office as well, and this is something very unusual. Usually you find leader's office away down the back of the building, in another building away from the reception area. I was right by reception because I didn't mind. I wanted to be around and accessible to people, not hidden and tucked away somewhere in a building 3 blocks away. So that was the first thing. And in the mornings when I used to go in, I used to have my door open. And I used to be playing music while I'm doing what I'm doing. And people would just walk by and just say, morning, Toni. And I say, morning. I wouldn't even know who it was. But they would just see the door open and walk by. And I would hear them saying, morning, Toni. And I'd just say, morning, morning, morning. Some might pop their head around the door. How are you today? Oh, yeah, I want to catch you late. That's no problem. And it would really kind of lit because my door was the first door that they would come to behind reception. And I wasn't hiding away. And sometimes you have to do this. Be interested. You want to know how your staff are doing. So that's me.
But it is when you are the front, when you are the person in front, then you are maybe a trendsetter. If you come into my room and I will just be, you say hi, and I will just be, oh bloody well, like you are like greeted with this angry face or whatever, then I can influence you to, oh, maybe I should not be so happy or whatever. That is a funny thing because maybe people rely on you.
Well, I think you've still got a responsibility to balance things out and make sure that, you don't have to overdo it, put any plastic smiles on or force anything. Because as you're building relationships, these things come naturally. I naturally want to know, about how your evening went the day before or something like that. I naturally want to know, about other people and what they're sharing, or if they share their child's name or something like. I make a little effort to remember. And one of the things that you've got to remember as well is that there's always a connecting point. So it's not just work that connects us. It's not just work that connects two people in that space. They could support the same football team. Rab, I don't want to know what football team you support. Thank you. This is not a cue for you. But, it could be something else that connects people together. Yeah? Sorry, to do all the hand signals and everything because this is connect. Okay?
Yeah.
So it could be that they came from the same part of the country, up north or down south or wherever it was. It could be other things that connect people. And that's why we need to look at some of those other things to help build those relationships. When you build those relationships, the happiness comes easier because you know when their eyes are lighting up, when something's going on, you can tell the signs. Like your eyes are lighting up right now, Heading. I can see.
Because you are putting together a community. It's where you belong. You have to belong. And if you show interest, then I have the company's interest at heart. And I want the company to succeed. And talking about the teaching, because Rich Gasson from the US, like, I love this. His role as a supervisor, remove barriers so others can be their best. And then he mentions like physical barriers, communication challenging, learning gaps. Like because as we were talking about previously, we are not all in the same mode. And we are different. Some people learn by reading a lot. Some people learn by saying, I know the mission, let me crack at it. Go and take a crack at it. So I love this. Thank you, Rich. And it is a thing that it's almost like leaders have to be psychologists.
Well, the thing about it is that you can start with an interest. And thanks for that, Rich, because I totally agree with all of that. You need to be able to recognize what some of those barriers are. And even if you don't recognize, be so emotionally intelligent to be, and once you build that relationship, you become more emotionally intelligent to that person, don't you? You get a feel for the things that they like and they don't like, so ultimately it is about that happiness. And we talked a little bit, you mentioned before about value, the value of staff, valuing staff. Well, there's something that I ask, and that question is, are you an organization that values your staff, or an organization where staff feel valued? Because it doesn't matter how much I do as an organization to make you feel valued, Heading. It doesn't matter what I throw at you. If you don't feel valued, then it's not enough.
Yeah. And now I will show you a comment from Marsha Lee. So funny that you mentioned what you're talking about. Our CEO was in the building yesterday, and she did not come to say hello to any of us. What a way to connect with your employees. Okay, granted, the CEO might have had something big in her head or in his head, but you can always say hello.
Well, the thing about it is this. Thank you so much, Marcia, for joining us. The thing about it is this, Heading. I'm going to tell you a little secret, but it's just between us. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You mustn't tell anybody. But there were times when I was a principal of special educational needs provisions. Yeah. And on a Friday afternoon, guess where you're going to find me? In the classroom with the young people, painting and singing.
Well, hello and good morning.
Yeah, that's where you're going to find me. And in the staff room. Yeah.
Funny how I thought immediately in the broom cabinet, but
I don't know about no broom cabinet. And I'm not even going to ask you about no broom cabinet, because ain't nothing supposed to be going on in no broom cabinet apart from keeping brooms.
but that is that is what you do. You interact with people, every people. And David Bellamy again, like, the relationships are key. You have to have relationships. Of course, no one is going to force you into a relationship, but like we organizations have shared values.
Well, the thing about it is that where I was in the schools, for example, some of them, some of the young people, the pupils in the school were non-verbal. And so sometimes you didn't even know if you were doing, but I tell you how you did know you were going in the right direction, because they would smile.
Yeah.
And a smile tells an awful lot. So I would say just count the smiles, because you know you're going in the right direction. And the longer they smile, the happier they're becoming. So just keep going. So that's a real good indication. But thanks, David. Really, really appreciate all that you do as well. So in terms of happiness in the workplace, so that's really great.
And it is also this when people start to force, like kids can spot you instantly when you're trying too much. We have been having this discussion now because we have election coming up in Iceland, and middle-aged grown people are trying to master the TikTok thingy. But the young people, they just know that like everything that comes from them is just like total rubbish. And they spot it. And people in the organization, they know when you are genuine or not.
Well, it's about being authentic, isn't it? And one of my other quotes that I say is that it's so much easier to be yourself when you're not trying. Yes. Because if you're trying, you're not being yourself. You need to just be.
This is so simple. This is so simple.
You look like you're frozen for a minute.
I was just thinking, like, yeah, it's so simple.
Why are you trying? And you know where it came from? That came from a time where I was doing a talk. And I was doing this talk, and it was an organization I'd done a talk in a few times before. And I mapped it all out, knew what I was going to be talking about. But that morning, it didn't feel right. You know, I don't know if it's the way that I woke up or how I was thinking about this, but it didn't feel right. So I kind of improvised a little bit, and I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to speak from the heart. And I'm not saying I recommend that people that go out talking do this, but that day, that's what I done. And you know, I got a standing ovation. I got so much positive feedback. And someone said it was really, really good today. Your talk was really, really excellent, better than the last time. And I sat down and I thought, what did I do different? And you know what I done different?
You came in yourself.
I came as myself, and I didn't try so hard.
Yeah. But maybe that is also because we were also, it's hard to be, isn't it?
Hard to be perfect. Well, it's imperfectly perfect, isn't it?
Yeah. And you can have, we were talking about when you are preparing yourself, like you are preparing a talk and you have a great amount of time and you are doing the PowerPoint, and then you can change it and change it and change it and change it. And then it's just falls flat on his face.
Yeah,
like
there's no perfection. Perfection is something that we're all striving towards. Nothing is perfect. Even in a factory line, production line, two items are never identically the same. There's going to be a little nip or a little default somewhere, you know. So there's nothing that is really perfect. We can strive towards it, but the more we work towards it, the further away it gets. We never quite get there. So at some point you have to say, right, okay, this is the part where I know for me, I need to say, I'm going to let it go at this point. Let it go.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, press send. Otherwise, you stay and play with it, and then it moves away from being as perfect as it can be. You know? Yeah. So we chase perfection, but it's really imperfectly perfect. And I would say, you know, we're talking about a PowerPoint, but generally, you know, leaders try to be perfect with everything, but just relax, just be yourself. And one of the things I would say is that we are all humans. We all make mistakes. But it's what you do next that counts.
Yeah.
Are you going to say, I'm sorry, Hedin, I really messed up there, and own it? Are you going to shy away and disown it? Are you going to blame others? It's really what you do next that is... Sorry, you're getting me all... You're getting me all warm here, all worked up.
But that is exactly, I was thinking when you were talking about this, when you meet leaders you become a leader, and then all of a sudden you think you have to be this perfect figure because you have now a responsibility. But there are always somebody beneath you or your former colleagues on the work floor who are jealous because they didn't get the job, or you got the job but you didn't want it in a sense, but you need the money, it pays well and stuff. And unfortunately, we don't have any schools for leaders.
Well, the thing
And
about
because Rab says it, like they can't be friends with everyone. Like it's just
it's not about friendship though, because when I started into leadership, in managing, I got a role, and no one had taught me about management. Yes, I've done qualifications and things like that, but the theory side of it. So I got into this role that was managing 5 members of staff, and I dare not say to my manager that I'm not sure about these things, But so I just kind of learn into it. Do you see what I mean? But ultimately, that's what it's about. Some of it is about really always learning from your experiences, not regretting only having learning experiences, because you learn from everything, and we don't have to know everything.
But when you get into the role, or when you meet people, if you get the sense that they are in a position that they you get this feeling that, oh, I sense that you don't like being in this role, then it brings me to the special medicine that Toni McLelland has, and that is the Toni fairy dust.
Yeah.
So how do you push people to say, why are you not good to in this? Like, you were good at the job. Isn't it a good recognition that you are now become a leader? Can you lead the people, or are you just hiding in the broom cupboard? Like,
well, that's just it, because there ain't no hiding in that broom cupboard. You need to stop talking about that broom cupboard, because it's not. We don't want to have nothing to do with that. But it's really interesting, because I had a client come to me one time, and she was telling me about this situation and all of this that was going on, and didn't know what to do. But she had this title. And in effect, you're the leader, not a leader, the ultimate leader. So do you know what I said to her? I said, are you a leader? She said, yes. I said, you call yourself a leader, so off you go and lead. Go and lead. Otherwise, you're not a leader. You shouldn't have the title. Don't worry, I'll be there. I'm at the end of the phone if you need me. We talked about a couple of scenarios, but ultimately, you need to go off and do your thing. If you're stuck, call me. I'll come and help you.
It's like you and David Bellamy. Are you somehow connected, or like his quote, like his point is, you have to care about people and understand that the business only moves forward if the people move forward. Like, this is interacting with.
Absolutely. Because the thing about it is that you don't become powerful by holding on to power. You become powerful by giving it away to empower others. The more you give to empower, give them some autonomy, etc., let them innovate. That's why you hire them. The more power comes back to you, the more comes back to you, the more you give, the more comes back, the more you give, the more comes back. That's how you do it. And I, when I managed 700 people, I kind of got it down to a fine art, to be honest with you, because the team that I had around me, I empowered them so much that I had very little of my own work to do, because they, they would help me with my work. They wanted to help me with my work. If I gave them a day off, for example, they would want to come back and give me 2 back. Do you see what I mean? And that is not that I would accept that, but that's how you want to be working with others. The staff are your work. Let them get on with it, and they will do the work.
Because they are a piece of a chain that has to keep the company running. And
if they're happy, their staff are happy, clients are happy, and everybody's happy.
Yeah. And this sentence also says everything. Like holding on to power makes you busy and slows down the team. Like you can ruin a lot of work by keeping everything like close to you instead of give people like trust them.
Well, I used
Trust.
to work with somebody that was like that. They they wanted to. It was my senior director that was in charge of the organization, and I was the assistant at the time. And ultimately, she wanted to make decisions about absolutely everything. She was a control, and I remember there was a time when a decision wasn't made. She forgot, and it all went pear-shaped. And I said, well, this is what happens when you want to control everything, you want to lead everything, you want to do everything. You're going to forget. You need to, empower others. Yeah, that's what you need to do, and delegate out. And so she didn't really get that until she saw that happen. But for me, it was kind of, I was very quick on the uptake of sharing that message with her in terms of this is the reason why,
Have you been in the situation of you are called in, but you sense that it is way too late? Like you walk in and like you try, like how when do you know that you are at a lost cause in your consulting?
When do I know?
Yeah, like because you can sense it that there are like if this lady, for example, the example that you had, that she got it, that she can't keep everything close to her. She has to say, okay, can you take a decision or make a decision? And she learned the hard way. But sometimes it goes on and on and
To be
on.
honest with you, I wouldn't describe it as a lost cause when it's too late, because the way that I see it is, even if the business can't go any further, trust me, there's a lot of learning in there, and your next business will be even better. So for me, I don't see, unless, even if the people have kind of nearly given up, there's still a little bit of hope in there. And so if I'm coming in to build on that hope. Do you see what I mean? I'm not coming in to terminate and give the bad news and say, shut this down. Yeah, there'll be times where there's things that have to be replaced, have to be fixed, or we get rid of that. But ultimately, it's not over until it's over. It's not over until it's over. And even then, you still got to have hope, haven't you?
Yeah. And that is what, like, then I put the quote, like the happiness in workplace, that you have to embrace the challenge. You have to acknowledge, okay, this is not working. Let's do a 360. Let's do something like mad in quotation. Let's change course. Let's do, okay, what would you do? Or talk to the people. Because sometimes the employees, they know.
Well, that's right. And that's absolutely it. And that's why we've got to remain curious, because that's why, see, when I go into organizations, I might only have 3 or 4 months at a push to make a shift. Yeah, because something urgent has happened or is happening. So ultimately, I don't have an awful lot of time. But I've got some compassionate C's, which I'm sure you're not surprised, and those compassionate C's are around coaching, because anywhere I go in, I've got to make sure that I'm coaching others so that they can take it on and make it sustainable moving forwards. I'll help them with the plan, etc. Yeah. Coaching, community, because, We do it together. There's no me without, you know? So ultimately, it's about other people, and that reflects in social impact and all those other areas. Communication, when, how, if, who has to know, when do they need to know? Consultation, let's consult with everybody. Customer service, survey. But the main thing in the consultation, see, is that when you get 60% back that have filled it in, don't forget the 40% that didn't, because that's the bit that needs the attention. Okay? It's so easy to say 60%, we'll take that, we'll go and implement these things at the 60, but that 40 could be toxic, could be festering. You want to kind of find out a little bit more about what it takes, who those are, what it takes to engage them and really get them on board. Yeah, so that's a consultation. Then you've got co-creation, co-production. So it's about, you know, you've got a better idea about how you want to see things. I'm the leader of this organization. I come to you head and say, oh, so you're in charge of this particular section and you've got a better idea. Share your idea with me. Have you thought it through? Have you looked at the impact? Have you looked at what the resources are needed? Okay, off you go.
But you have to also, because you said the word toxic, and then that brings me to the like the safety, the psychological safety. You have to be allowed to say, speak up, to say, like you can't, you know, this thing about not saying. And if you have to speak up.
Absolutely.
What will you do?
So engaged is different to involved. And I talk about, you know, compassionate leadership and how you engage people. So I've got some valve principles. So those valve principles are V for being visible, A for being attentive, L for listening, V for, it slipped me, value.
Yeah.
V for value. Sorry, just checking that you were paying attention there.
Yeah.
And E for engaging. And someone said, I always get my staff involved. Involved is different to engaged. Yeah. So this is the thing, involved. So I was leading some work once with some leaders, and we were setting some ground rules. And, you know, we were talking about people being engaged and involved and everybody participating. And that was one of the ground rules. And one person, and I'll never forget this, one person said, you know, but people need to respect the fact that we might, as long as we're given the space, it's fine, but we don't have to use it. If we choose not to, that's our choice. And I think sometimes what happens is that we use the word involve or engage, and we try and force an opinion to engage or involve or include. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's your turn to speak, head in, so you speak. And it doesn't work like that. And that's what causes that unhappiness and some of that, you know, thing around psychological safety as well.
Yeah, and you probably have to also figure out that some people just, for some people, it takes time to get the machine going. Like you get, there are some talks and you have to just, maybe next day, what you said yesterday, I have another take on it. Yeah, okay, let me hear it. Or some people, they just think quick on their feet and you just have to, okay, yeah. So we are all different. So I don't know if you realize, but we have almost been talking for an hour, Toni.
I do. And sorry, can I just pick up on David?
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Talks about toxic behaviors as a reaction to the environment. People lash out at others and the organization when they're feeling diminished and insignificant. Absolutely. And this is really around culture as well. And quite often people don't realize that sometimes the culture of the organization is based on some of the leaders' behaviors. I've looked back at organizations that I've led or been senior in, and I can see my personality all over it. So I don't care what anybody has to say, that it is a fact. Yeah. And if you know, your culture can sometimes be an indication as to how you are as an individual, but it doesn't, it's not insurmountable. It can be rectified. You just need to be aware of it and be happy to do something about it.
And that is, I think there are so many things, but I think together, if we only if we only let ourselves to embrace the fact that we are in this together, we are never alone. That concept will never work. We have to find the path. Like, we can't have one going like rogue and just do whatever, and then you are like, oh, you have to be with us. We are like, we are trying to run a company here. You know, so it's absolutely necessary to, like, isn't it, to work together and just help each other and be there for each other and stuff.
Well, I think, you know, it's really important to, because even though I'm leading on the business aspect of it, all of these things feed in. You know, I haven't mentioned my 4 Ps, which is around purpose, people, planet, and profit. So purpose, mission, vision, and values. That's really, really important. And quite often when I go in around the people aspect, you know, it comes back to people not feeling valued. So let's reevaluate, you know, some of our mission and our vision and our own values, because it can be a little bit misaligned. And that's part of the reason as well why people may not feel valued. So there's the purpose, vision, mission, values, people, and the people parts are things like diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, you know, corporate social responsibility, social impact, all of these areas that need looking at, that's going to future-proof organizations moving forward. But they all involve people, even ESG. ESG, environmental, social, and governance. The S is for social. CSR, corporate social responsibility. The S is for social. They are all involving people. So, you know, unless we build people into the main part of our agenda, people and sustainability, it's going to be difficult to future-proof, you know. And then you've got planet. So what are you doing about the planet and sustainable development? And you've also got profit or performance, depending on how you measure that success within your organization. So if you're a not-for-profit, you're going to be maybe leaning more towards a performance. And if you're profit-wise, you know, you really still should be leaning towards performance to get to the profit. Because one of the things I say is, don't chase money, chase results, and then the money chases you. So absolutely.
So they are going at it. David Bellamy and Rob Bessie, they are just, I think they have their own conversation. They have this side gig.
Yeah. That's the show going on, the side show going on.
Yeah, but it is true, because when you are invested in this area, like David Bellamy, he has his company who is making a platform so people can speak freely and be like be heard, and it. But of course, and now he has this point of, like, when there are layoffs, like, you know, something is going to happen.
Do you know what it is as well? Do you know what it is? And happiness at work, and this is really about individuals as well.
Yeah.
Because, you know, everybody wants change, but no one wants to change. All right. I want change in my organization, but I'm looking for you to make the change, a leader to make the change, someone else. But it comes down to me. What change am I going to make to see the change that I need? And sometimes it's about leaving rather than waiting for the change, fighting against the change, staying in a toxic environment against the change. Sometimes you need to say, right, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm in control of my own happiness and destiny, and this is what I'm going to do. And look at that organization and say, what can I take away from there that's going to fuel me moving forward?
It's so brilliant, because it all starts with you. And then we get back to the quote. what was it? It is your...
Well, I got so many. I was going to say,
yes, I know, but
why wait for external validation when it's internal validation that is required? You know in your heart if you are not happy. You know in your heart through emotional intelligence that there is something wrong here. Don't wait for other people to tell you that you need to go. Yeah,
you have to fix what's broken.
that's right.
You are not getting anywhere else. But let's finish on this here. Like, we have two humorists. Like, they are very funny, those two. And this is what Rap said when we were talking about they had their own conversation. So they are sitting next to each other.
Really?
Yeah, I love this. But Toni, we have to wrap up because now it's in an hour. And change is important. Every 90 days, every cell in your body gets replaced. So change is normal. But then again, some people do really not like changes.
But then, can I just leave by just saying that
yes,
happiness, recognize people in your organization, show gratitude and appreciation for them, remain curious and compassionate. And, these are some of the things that build that happiness. Take time out for others. And it's a ripple effect from there. But I want to say thank you so much for having me, Hedin. It's been a pleasure.
Well, I'm just, people have to find you. They have to talk to you. You are the queen of letters. You're like the C's and the D's and the P's. Like,
easy to remember. You remember?
Yes. But then again, you have this website called firstlifegroup.com, and you're like one life group. How do you read this, Toni?
It's a digit one, isn't it? First.
Yeah, yes. But how do you say it? Like, without smiling and cracking up. Okay, is it just me?
Yeah, it's just you.
Oh, thank you. So, and I feel like I have had a lot of Toni's fairy dust, even though the volcano started erupted.
It was only a little sprinkling that I came with today, because I say I can't describe the fairy dust. It has to be experienced.
Yes. Oh, you are like you. I knew this would be. I knew this would be a good session. So I can't thank you enough. But before we leave, I just wanted to remind people that the next inspiring conversation. Oh my God, this conversation word. I can't seem to write it exactly. It's the next week, November the 28th at 15:30 GMT and British time. So, and it's with David Bellamy, and we are going to talk about listening is hard, but it is worth it. So please tune in next time. And Toni, again, you are brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this as well. Keep up the great work.